rock that beat.
Alright, so this video was actually supposed to go up yesterday, but some stuff happened to me yesterday and I couldn't get the video up and I couldn't even record either, which is why I'm recording this on Sunday, and you're probably going to see it really early morning on Sunday, which is today. So hopefully you do enjoy. If you did, you know, just continue watching. But we're here to talk about the newest episode of My Hero Academia. It's episode 52. Last week we didn't have an episode, honestly. It kind of surprised me a little bit when I went to go, you know, check to see if there was a new episode, and there wasn't. But now we have episode 52, and you know, it was pretty much what I anticipated it was going to be. It was basically the entirety of Class 1A, you know, the main cast of characters that we see on a weekly basis. You know, most of the characters at least. You know, they're doing what I thought they were going to do because of the previews that were in the last episode 2 weeks ago, and basically it's Class 1A, and they're trying to create their ultimate moves. And from what we see in this episode specifically, at least I'm gonna go ahead and guess 3. Although Deku, I'm not gonna say that his is an ultimate move because, well, I'll get into explaining that in a second. But the beginning of the episode starts kind of like how it has been since, you know, the season started. But we actually have a new opening, and I think it's fun to watch. I think it looks great. I think the song is pretty good, and yeah, we have a new opening. Let me know if you do enjoy the opening, and yeah, I think it's pretty good. I don't hate it. I think like I said, I think it's pretty good. But then the episode, for some reason, you know, retracts back to what happened when Deku went to go meet with All Might at the beach after all the All For One stuff kind of happened. And I think that's supposed to be kind of like a setup for what's supposed to happen later on in the episode. But immediately after that, Deku wakes up, and by then it's already been a couple of days since they have all moved into dorms. For those who are going to UA High School, turns out it had already been a couple of days since they already had moved in. It's their 3rd day being there, and you know, they're already kind of basically living their lives, and they're going to school and shit, you know? They're right next to them, so but they're not really going to school because isn't it like summer vacation, which is why they went to the training grounds, right? That's what it was, whatever. So they head towards the school, right? They head towards the school immediately afterwards, you know, waking up and, you know, doing whatever they gotta do. And Aizawa, Eraserhead, is, you know, basically saying, all right, now we're gonna go move over to this other building, and we're gonna help you all, you know, try to create your ultimate moves. And then just before he actually even says anything else, Cementoss, Midnight, and Ectoplasm, 3 pro heroes, they all walk into the room, and basically these are going to be, you know, the 3 other heroes that are going to help them create their ultimate move. Cementoss makes sense, Ectoplasm makes sense as well, but I don't know why Midnight is there. I mean, there has to be some reason, I just don't get it currently. Or just sort of like the joke completely just went past my fucking head. But they all get in their costumes, and then Cementoss, you know, creates a whole like, area where they can all pretty much train individually by themselves, but they're all pretty close to each other. And then Ectoplasm, because his quirk allows him to basically create multiple clones of himself, allows all of them to have their own clone to train against it, because he is a pro, he knows what he's doing, and he can protect himself. So all of them are trying to, you know, work on their quirks. They're working on their quirks, and they're also trying to create their ultimate move. And they actually explain how Ida Tenya's his quirk, and you know, his Respiro burst, how do you pronounce it? I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. They say that it's already good enough to be classified as an ultimate move because an ultimate move doesn't have to be, you know, something flashy. It doesn't have to be, you know, something like the United States of Smash that All Might had used a couple weeks back. You know, it doesn't have to be anything like that. As long as it, you know, helps in the scenario that they're in, then it can classify as an ultimate move. because, for example, if Ida is in a situation where he needs to move around really quickly and save a bunch of people, he can use that, his ultimate move, and then save a bunch of people, and that's what it means to be a hero. But regardless, the episode continues on. Everyone's trying to create their ultimate move. They're trying to, make their quirks better, and they even say if they wanted to improve upon their costumes and, make them better in any other way, they can. And there's an area in the school where they can actually go and, work with, I think, one of the other pros and make their costume better. And the episode before we get to that, Deku obviously is struggling a little bit because right now he can't really work on, an ultimate move currently, because if he continues to use his arms, because like we learned in the past, if he keeps using his arms and he destroys them like he did with the muscular fight, then he can seriously, damage his arms even more to the point where he can no longer use them anymore. So the rest of the episode for Deku is basically him trying to find a better and easier way to use One for All, which now is his quirk, and his quirk only, because All Might can't use it anymore. He's trying to figure out a way that he can use it without completely destroying his arms. And he gets the bright idea of going over to kind of like the work area to where he can ask one of the pros to help improve upon his costume. And basically he's going to ask him to put braces on his arms so that way he can absorb the impact of One for All a little bit better, so that way he can actually keep his arms more durable. But of course, he still has to be careful. All Might shows up, just before Deku moves over to getting his costume improved, and he notices that Deku's having trouble. Right? He goes over to Deku, and he's actually being a teacher for once. So he goes over to Deku to start off with, and he's like, "You're still trying to imitate me," and he doesn't really say anything else. And then he moves on, and he's like, giving more and better advice for all the other students that are there, near Deku. And, Deku notices this, of course, but he doesn't really understand what All Might was talking about. Like, you're still trying to imitate him. He doesn't really get it. It doesn't click in his head yet, right? So the episode continues on a little bit. Deku, like I said, he's trying to improve his costume to make it better for, his quirk and, the situations that he always seems to be in. Same thing with Ida, and same thing with Uraka. And they get there, and they get to the door to the area where they need to go to in order to, change their costumes. The pro hero that's in there is Mr. Power Loader. The door suddenly just explodes, and you find out who it is in a second, but there's a bunch of black smoke. Deku gets knocked out for a little bit, and we find out who actually caused the explosion. It wasn't Power Loader, the pro. It was actually MHA Mha, and we haven't seen her since season 2 with the whole sports festival bullshit that happened, right? We haven't seen her since then, and she's there. She's working on like her inventions and stuff. And Uraka has like a really surprised, look on her face. And then immediately, soon after we see her expression, we see that MHA Mha is not intentionally, but laying on top of Deku, and her tits are like pushed up, right? So they look bigger, and I mean, yeah, I guess they're big anyways, but they're pushed up and they look bigger. Deku wakes up, he looks down, and he's like, "Bleh, bleh, bleh, bleh." And he starts stuttering, right? And then Uraka finishes the fucking sentence, and she's like, "Boobs." And I'm just like, really? They're gonna have more fan service? I mean, it was funny. I'm not gonna lie. It was really, really funny. And, Uraka she's just like, no. And, she says she has a more, shocked look on her face. And Deku's kind of like uncomfortable and embarrassed, right? They go through like the whole like commercial break where they show us a couple of information about certain characters. Uraka's just like, why did that happen? I can't believe that happened. And Midoriya is just standing there, he's embarrassed, stuttering on his words. Mei obviously introduces herself, and then she doesn't remember she doesn't remember the names. And Ida runs in and he's like screaming at her for, basically using him in the sports festival to, self-promote her fucking inventions and shit. Remember that? That was hilarious. The episode continues on. They're obviously wanting to work more on their costumes and make them better. Mei is obviously kind of like freaking out because she's like, oh, if I can work on like people's costumes, yada yada, right? Because she's an inventor kind of motherfucker, and she wants to help others on their outfits, their costumes and shit. So I think it'd be better pros. And that's the same thing with Power Loader. He's trying to help them, and what Deku's actually trying to do with his costume, it won't actually take too long. So that's actually pretty good. And then for some reason in the episode, fucking Mei is like right next to Deku. He looks down and he's like, she's like touching all over his fucking body and shit. I'm just like, why? Are they trying to like insinuate that the fan base ships Mei and Deku? Like, are they really like that self-aware? Like, don't tell me they're actually like this self-aware. Now I'm uncomfortable. Because now I'm uncomfortable. Mei is obviously trying to help. She's trying to, show off her inventions and stuff to, help people for whatever reason in any way that she can. She has like a whole bunch of other inventions as well. It's like kind of there inside of the room. And then Deku finally gets the bright idea because she shows Ida, kind of like these gauntlet things that have to do with like his engine quirk, right? They're kind of similar to that, but they're on his arms, right? And then she says, if you want, to cool your legs, why don't you run with your arms, right? Because Ida uses his legs and not his arms most of the time whenever he's using his engine quirk, because they're like sticking out of his fucking calves, right? So it makes sense. She says that, and then Deku finally starts clicking what All Might said in his head. You're trying to imitate me, right? That's what All Might says to Deku, and that's because Deku, the entire time that he's had One for All, has been trying to be exactly like All Might by using, by using One for All in the way that All Might does, by using his fist and his arms. And even Gran Torino, whenever, he was trying to train Deku in order to, whenever he was trying to help him, improve upon his quirk, he was saying, your appreciation and your love for All Might is distracting you from actually improving upon the quirk yourself. And so Deku finally gets the bright idea to start using his legs One for All, and not just his arms, right? And that's actually, a smart thing, and I don't understand why he never did that. It kind of makes sense when you start thinking about it. Why didn't he use his legs? But no, he's gonna start using his legs now. He has, ligaments and like his and like gauntlets on his arms now for his costume. So the more shock of the impact from One for All is going to be more bearable on his arms whenever he does use his arms. I don't know when or what situation he could be in order to use them, but he's also going to be using his legs, which is really smart. And it's like One for All, full cowling, and I forget the rest of the name of when Deku started using it in the episode. He does that like basically at the end of the episode. He calls it something, and it's basically One for All, full cowling, and it's something else. I forget what else he adds on top of that. But just before the episode actually ends, all the students are still continuing to train, improving their quirks, and creating ultimate moves. It's been 4 days since they started it, and Bakugo creates, I guess, kind of like an additional move in his arsenal. I don't know if it's like an ultimate move, but it's like an additional kind of like new attack. And basically what Bakugo can do now is he still uses his explosion quirk, but what he does is that he creates like a small circular like hole like with his hand, his left hand, and he puts it like near or up against his right hand. And so with that, it creates more of a long range, more skinnier version of explosion. It's not like completely like spread out like a typical explosion would. No, it's more closed in and it's more long range. And he calls it the AG shot, which stands for armor piercing shot, which makes sense because it's more long range. It goes through like tons of fucking, like it could go through pretty much anything if you can, if his explosion is strong enough, of course. And then Tokoyami, what he does with Dark Shadow, his quirk, is he actually calls Dark Shadow and then he engulfs himself with Dark Shadow. So like his head, like the upper part of his body, and then his arms. And it looks really cool and it's like pretty smart. And he calls it Abyssal Black Body, right? And it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny because Midnight's saying like that's kind of hard to say. It's important that your move names are easier to pronounce. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird, I guess. And then that happens, and then Bakugo shows his armor piercing shot then, and then a piece of debris starts falling down towards the ground towards All Might, and All Might can't really protect himself anymore. Deku, being the motherfucker that he is, jumps up and then he fucking kicks the shit out of the fucking rock, showing that Deku finally learned with what All Might was talking about to him, and that Deku can now use is starting to now use his legs more instead of just using his arms. And actually no, he does actually explain that All Might's ultimate move had to really center around his arms, and since Deku inherited One for All, he's been trying to do the same thing, and now he's gonna start he's gonna start doing things differently. He's gonna use his legs, he's gonna use his arms, and he's gonna use his entire body in any situation that he can. And so instead of worrying about his arms, he's starting to worry about his legs. And so he calls it One for All full cowling shoot style. That's what he calls it. And kind of a lame name, I'm gonna be honest. I don't really get it. What makes it shoot style? I don't get it. But regardless, he's using his legs. It was really cool, and it's really smart. But I feel like now that we have it here, and he's starting to use his legs more, I feel like this would have been obvious. I feel like it just would have totally been obvious, since the very beginning. But I guess not. Because Deku honestly is kind of a fucking idiot. That's the end of the episode. It cuts off pretty much right after it shows All Might for a brief second, but nothing really happens with him. He just says, "That's right." So regardless, that's the end of the episode, which means it's the end of the video. I rambled on for long enough. I've been recording for almost 20 minutes, and I apologize for continuing to talk for an unnecessary amount of time, but that's the end of the video. If you did enjoy, be sure to like. If you are new, please be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. You're going to see this later today, hopefully on Sunday, if I'm not too lazy. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day. I'm out.